Hi, welcome back to the course Accounting for Creatives. This time we're going to talk about value-added tax. And value-added tax in the Netherlands is called BTW, bruto toegevoegde waarde. Another word is Omzetbelasting, which you'll find on the reports from the tax authorities. So, value-added tax is a consumer tax. It's actually not meant for businesses, but businesses need to help the tax authorities to collect it. So we pay VAT and we receive VAT and we can give it and get it returned from the tax authorities. It's not an expensive for the entrepreneur and it's not revenue either. So it's actually balance neutral. You will not find it in your profit or loss account. In the Netherlands we have several tariffs of VAT. The normal usual tariff is 21%. It's called the high price and it's about, let's say, everything which is not especially mentioned on the website of the Belastingdienst. If there's no exception, it's always like 21%. And then we have a low rate, which is for basic goods, and it has to be mentioned on the website of the tax authority that you are allowed to only calculate 9%. And examples are foods, medicines, art objects, books, all things that are kind of considered to be basic goods for people. And then we have a certain a certain group of 0%, which is medical care and even education. So if that's mentioned on the website, you don't have to calculate any VAT on your invoice. If you really want to know the right rate for the taxes, you have to go to the website of the Belastingdienst. It is mentioned there if the product that you want to invoice is actually in the high, low or the zero rate table. Let's have an example with VAT on sales. We already did the sales in the previous videos. Now let's add the BTW VAT to this sales. So we're sending an invoice for 1,000 euros and it's excluding VAT. So 1,000 euros is the price that our entrepreneur John wants to earn for the work he did. If he sends this to his customer, he needs to add this VAT, this value-added tax of 21%. So on this 1,000 euros, it will be 210 euros extra that his customer has to pay to John. It means that his invoice will be 1,210 and he can keep the 1,000 and he will have to pay the 210 euros to the tax authorities, to the Belastingdienst. And he will do this once every quarter when it's time to do your payments for the taxes. In the meantime, between the invoice and the time that he will actually pay this amount to the tax authorities, there is a debt to the Belastingdienst. And this debt needs to be registered in the bookkeeping and it will be shown on the balance sheet. We'll see how it looks like in here. Changing after this invoice is, of course, the accounts receivable. They are increased with the 1,210 euros, the complete amount that John will get from his customer. And the debt to the Belastingdienst is mentioned in the short-term debts as VAT payable or BTW payable, 210 euros. The 1,000 euros that is meant for his profits is, of course, like before, added to the equity. So the equity still raises with 1,000, but an extra entrance on the liability side will be VAT payable 210 euros. So that in the end of the quarter, John knows he has to pay this amount to the tax authorities. That's as far as sales is concerned. Let's see what happens with a purchase. we purchased a printer of 700 euros. And it doesn't matter if it's an investment or costs, and whether it's paid cash or on account. All the VAT is kind of being taken care of in the invoice. So it doesn't matter what type of invoice it is. Let's see at this printer of 700 euros. That's actually the price that that it will cost John, that the investment will be for John, but the supplier will add the VAT to this amount. So it will be like 147 euros of VAT. This is 21% of the 700. It will be added, so the bill, the invoice will look like 847 euros to pay. John will pay this to his supplier, knowing that the 700, yes, it is an investment for him, and the 147 is to be paid now, but to refunded later from the tax authorities when the quarter is finished. So in the meantime, between the payment of this VAT and the refund from the Belastingdienst, it means that the Belastingdienst is actually in debt with John. He has this amount of money to get refunded. So in the balance, we will note this as an asset, as a claim to the Belastingdienst, and it will be shown like this. It means your computer system, of course, is raised with 700 euros. That's the price of the printer, excluding the VAT. And the VAT that is being transferred from the Belastingdienst to John is a current asset with the name of VAT receivable for 147 euros. And now John knows at the end of the quarter, this amount will be refunded from the tax authorities. Of course, the accounts payable is still 5,247. It's the complete amount of the invoice that is added to the accounts payable, the creditors. And the balance is still in balance as usual. Okay, at the end of the quarter, it's time to do your tax declaration. Let's have a look at some screenshots from this declaration process. Of course, it's in Dutch because it's Dutch Belastingdienst, but let me see if I can explain it for you and translate it. The first thing you have to put on your declaration is the revenue that you made, the turnover that you made. So the word omzet means like your profits. And the first column, like 1A, is your normal turnover with high VAT percentages, so the 21%. In this case, the 1,000 euros from the invoice John sent to his customer, and the 210 euros for the amount of VAT that is that needs to be paid. If you also have like low rate VAT, you fill in the 1B line, and you also have some amounts there. In this case, we don't. The rest is kind of not used very much for freelancers, so I just skip them. If you need it, you have to dive into it and to see what they are for. The next screenshot is also like things that we really do not use. This is more like when you do business with foreign countries, either inside the European or outside. If you have this case, you really have to get into this also and find out where you have to put your revenue there. The next screenshot is the money that you will get refunded from the tax authorities. And we call this voorbelasting. It's like an amount of money that you get back from the tax authorities. So the 210 euros in the first line is the total of the previous screenshots, and 5B is about voorbelasting, so it's the VAT receivable. In this case 168, which is kind of build up from the 147 from the printer, and the money that you get refunded for the cartridges. When you have an amount to pay and you have an amount to receive, you can subtract them from each other, and in the end total, which is like the last line, you see there's 42 euros to actually pay to the tax authorities. So you don't have to pay the complete 210. but you can subtract the VAT receivable from this, and you only have to pay the difference. And this is what you fill in this form, and you pay this amount to the tax authorities. It's completely your own responsibility. Cool, so what we talked about revenue tax, VAT, and about all the rates there are. And it is actually a consumer tax, so it's not cost and it's not profit for the entrepreneur. And at the end of the quarter you have to fill in this declaration and pay your taxes. Cool, let's go to the next part about profit and loss. See you there.